All right, check it out. Joyce Kaufman. She's next. Oh, so Joyce has been on the radio in South Florida for 20 years. You guys know that. She has a loyal audience. I wish I had one. She's on 850 WFTL because you know what she's known for? Crap is crap, no matter how you frame it, and that's where Joyce comes from. Yeah, if it's wrong, then if it's on the right or the left, she has no problem telling you, Joyce, come thrill us now. Joyce Kaufman.
Stay on the wall. Stay on the wall. You got to stay on the wall. That's what it's about now. We just came up from the Broward County Tea Party, and there were, well, I'm going to guess, I always like to go under because, you know, they're going to say there were 35 people there in the papers tomorrow, even though there were reporters there. There were probably 2,000 or better people on the corner of 3rd Avenue and Broward Boulevard, so you have support in Broward. And you know, I'm going to tell you the same thing that I told the people in Broward County, and that is, 2010 will be the most important year of our lives. This is that moment in history again since the 1770s where we need to make a decision. Are we a nation of free people or not? You know, to me it's not rocket science. Every day I wake up and I thank God that I was born in the United States of America. I thank God that there are people in my country who are beginning to wake up. I feel the energy building. I understand because I get on the air every day, Monday through Friday, and I get to hear people talk about what this means to them, this country, this election. But I got to tell you, this week I saw a disaster unfold before my very eyes. And I'm here today to warn you that if you don't activate, and if each one of you doesn't bring somebody else to the Tea Party, somebody else to the table in August and then in November, then we have failed and we will go down in flames. Because at 10% or 14% show up at the polls, we're screwed. Okay? Because the other side has unions and thugs that will round up people who probably don't even have the right to vote in this country, and they will vote. So if you can't get patriots, conservatives, independents, Republicans, and Democrats to come out and support these candidates, game over. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm not going to sit on a porch somewhere in Tennessee telling my grandchildren that they could have been born in a free country, but I was too busy watching American Idol to get out and do what needed to be done. When you see a young girl, the age of a Hannah Giles, who puts herself out there and is willing to take a chance to make something right in this country, to point out what's wrong, to expose fraud, then you ask yourself, what have you done lately? Every day I get on the air and I talk about candidates and I talk about the reality of if you don't support them, they don't go to Congress and return us to a more civil society. And I really want to talk about one thing today, and it's really important to me, because this is the crux of why we're here today and why we're in the mess that we're in. It's about integrity. We lost our integrity. We became a country who, when they had a problem, turned to the government for a solution. We became a country when if we spent too much money on a credit card, we went to a counseling service who promised they could help us pay 50% on $1. I spent $1. If I have integrity, I pay back that dollar. That's how they can get away with bailing out banks and bailing out the auto industry, because we've all acquiesced and said, you know what? If I can't make my mortgage payment, I'll do a reconditioning, a remodeling, a renovation. I'll do it on the taxpayer's dime, and then I'll wait here for a year until they throw me out in the street. No integrity. We can't go on like that. This was a country built on the backs of people who had integrity. When my parents came to this country, or when your parents or grandparents came, they had nothing. They came with initiative. They came with a love of freedom. They were fleeing, sometimes communists, sometimes Nazis. Sometimes they were just fleeing ruthless dictators that had taken over their little Caribbean nations. But they came here with integrity, and they developed businesses, and they went to school, and they became professionals, and they had integrity. If they wanted to buy a television set and they didn't have the money, they put it on layaway. And at the end of 10 months, they took home the TV. They didn't buy a flat screen on a credit card and then expect me to pay for it. When my parents went out to the supermarket and they saw the steak and they wanted the steak, they bought the chopped meat because they knew that there was a lesson to be learned for me in making that hamburger, that meatloaf that night, and saying, we do the best we can with what we have. All we have is meatloaf tonight. Tired of kids walking around with Game Boys and their parents can't pay their mortgage. 14-year-olds with iPods and iPhones and their parents are defaulting on their credit cards. No integrity. That's not the nation we are. You need to reclaim your integrity. You need to stand up and you need to say, we're going back to those traditional values and those morals. And let me tell you, when you do that, we won't be arguing whether babies can be ripped out of mothers' uteruses. That won't be the argument in this country. We'll start having arguments about dignified things. We'll say, hey, you know what? Nuclear summit, we got nukes, you don't. Tough. We'll stand alongside of Israel and we say, Israel has a right to defend itself in any way that it can. We're going to be right there behind them. They don't have to defend their right to exist. God said it, that settles it. So it's you that have to be energized today. It's you that have to do something differently when you leave here today. It's you that gets behind a candidate. I see the West signs. I appreciate knowing that you all support him here and now. But you got to knock on doors. There are people who don't know who he is. You got to tell them who he is. You got to get him in front. You got to support him financially. All of these candidates, seek them out and do the right thing. Or else, someday we'll be sitting on a porch, like I told you, trying to explain to your grandchildren and children what this country was like when you lived in it, when you were growing up. Unacceptable. Return to the integrity that our forefathers envisioned for us. I thank you. Stay on the wall!